Let's discuss Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and demonstrate a few concepts on our laptops. We already discussed Wi-Fi modules a little bit in a previous video. Wi-Fi, or WLAN, allows the laptop to connect to wireless networks and communicate with other systems on the LAN and on the internet. However, it's also often necessary for users' laptops to communicate with secondary devices such as mice, external keyboards, phones, headsets, and so on. This is where Bluetooth comes in. With Bluetooth, you can quickly and easily connect to these devices through a process known as pairing. Because many laptops need Wi-Fi as well as Bluetooth, you'll commonly find combination cards such as the one shown here. This is an internal solution using the M.2 form factor. It allows for wireless networking to other computers as well as Bluetooth. However, you'll note that it has an extra notch. We've got two notches here in comparison to the cellular card that we showed previously in another video. Okay, so you have an extra notch. Actually, this is very common for these combo cards, and you'll see them often in laptops. But the idea here is that you want to be very sure that the M.2 card you select is compatible with the slot on your laptop's motherboard and that you are getting the correct card. Also, you'll note two connectors on the top here of the module, and those are for the antennas. Some laptops will have antenna leads that you can connect, but in the case that the laptop doesn't have them or they've failed, you can purchase these separately. Here we see two antennas for a combo Wi-Fi/BT card, BT short for Bluetooth, and we've got one antenna for each technology. Try to keep the antenna leads away from power sources and from the CPU. This can be difficult in the tight confines of a laptop, but interference from power sources and from other antennas is the #1 reason for failure of Bluetooth connectivity. So let's move over here and show one of these laptops. And I've got one of my laptops set up here. And this is the M.2 combo card. And this does indeed allow for Wi-Fi and for Bluetooth. It allows for both. And so if we take a look here, we see that there's a little sticky tape here that we can remove. And you have to remove that in order to get access to those leads, those antenna leads. Okay, and you can see both of these leads here, and these just snap onto the card. And if you ever want to remove these, you should use some type of plastic shim or something similar. Some people will just disconnect them by hand, but if you can pry them out, that would be good too, without touching any of the circuitry. All right, so I'm doing this with plastic, not anything metal. And you can see that connector there. That just snaps on. So they both snap on there. Okay, so these wires are routed. If we lift this tape here, you can see the black and white wire are routed here, and then underneath here and through, and they go around here and into the display's hinge. And so that's one way that you can do it. That's common. One of the problems is that the wires actually go right next to these power wires. This is your actual DC in jack, and so they're right next to these, which could cause some interference So you want to make sure that these are kind of pried apart. You might also decide to reroute these wires, and you could go a different direction. You could go over here by the speaker, or you might decide to reroute one of the wires to keep the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi a little bit more separate. So you could go this way with one and that way with the other. In some cases, the lead will end up connecting to something metallic to increase the performance of the antenna, to increase the reach. But the key is you want to keep it away from the main power sources. If you have an inverter nearby, you don't want to be anywhere near that on an older laptop. If you have your CPU, you want to stay away from that. Any types of power sources, don't route it right above the speaker, that kind of thing. Try to stay away from any power sources or any other types of interference. And so the card itself, this connects into the slot at a 45-degree angle, and it screws down with one screw here on a standoff, usually off the motherboard. And then you snap your two connectors, your two antenna connectors on there. So you want to make sure that you're using some type of decent tape for this. Heat-resistant electrical tape or better. And then when you're done, make sure that you cover up that screw and, more importantly, the antennas, just like we did with the RAM modules. Now, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth solutions can also be implemented externally. Oftentimes, the easier solution is to simply go USB. As shown here, we have a low-profile USB device. These are very common, and if a laptop does not have Bluetooth built in, or it's malfunctioning for some reason, this becomes an easy way to add it. Just make sure that the device provides software drivers for the operating system that the laptop uses. This low-profile design has other purposes as well. You see this all the time as data drives and several other technologies. The drawback is that they can be easy to lose. Easily stolen, easily lost. So be sure to carefully document all USB devices so as to limit USB sprawl. By sprawl, I mean the unorganized confusion that can occur when there are many laptops and many USB devices. In some scenarios, an organization will deem USB devices such as this to be insecure. And so the organization will require a more secure external solution or perhaps something internal. So there's some of your options. You've got the M.2 internal card. We've got our antennas here that you want to make sure you have connected properly to those connectors. And then you have also external USB solution. Now, if your Wi-Fi Bluetooth device came with software, you can use that within Windows to locate Wi-Fi networks and Bluetooth devices. But sometimes the device doesn't come with any software, or your organization doesn't want to install any third-party untrusted software. If that's the case, you can use the built-in Windows software and drivers in Windows 7, 8, 8.1, and Windows 10, and so on. If you have any issues using that built-in software and you're positive that you have properly installed the combo card, then you should first make sure that the associated services are running. For Wi-Fi connectivity, the service is called WLAN AutoConfig. And for Bluetooth, it's called the Bluetooth Support Service. So let's move back over to the laptops and show those now. Okay. And again, I have two laptops here, and they're essentially the same. This one's open, and it's showing the M.2 card here. That's the combo card. And then over here, we have an actual laptop running. Very similar laptop. And so what you want to do is you want to go to your services console. And to do that, we'll go to the run prompt and type in services.msc. That brings up the services window. And we'll scroll down to the bottom here. And over here, we'll see WLAN AutoConfig. So that's the built-in service that allows you to use the built-in software. You know, you've most likely seen the software. If you go down to your notification area here, you'll see the wireless icon if you're connected, or a wireless icon that shows that it's not connected. And if we click on that, we'll see the wireless networks that we have access to, that are in range at least, and what we're connected to, and whether it's secure or not. From here, you can also select airplane mode to turn off all wireless connectivity, meaning WLAN, Bluetooth, and so on, cellular if you have it. And if you do have a cellular connection, you could also set up the laptop as a mobile hotspot, allowing other devices to connect. But in many cases, people will use their mobile device, for example, their smartphone, as the hotspot and connect their laptop to that. So you have multiple options here. But this is the actual service that is underlying that software, WLAN AutoConfig. So if we double click this and look at the properties, you want to make sure that it is indeed running. And we see that service status here. It is running. Sometimes you might need to stop it and restart it. You also want to make sure that the startup type is set to automatic so that it does start every time. Likewise, we have the Bluetooth service. Let's cancel out of here. And we have the Bluetooth service up above. And here is the Bluetooth support service. If we double click that, again, you want to make sure it's running. And you may perhaps want to set this to automatic. It depends on the policies of your company or what you're doing with this system. Perhaps Bluetooth's not allowed in your company. Well, if that's the case, you could stop it and then set this to either manual or disable it altogether. And you might have other Bluetooth services that you have to work with as well. For example, for a headset, if one is found, or perhaps user support service, the audio gateway service, and so on. But mainly the Bluetooth support service is what we're looking at here. And by the way, we mentioned the WLAN AutoConfig. In the case that you have a cellular card, then the software that can work with that is WWAN AutoConfig. And you'll notice that that one is not running right now. And it's set to manual, so it won't start up when the computer starts. That's because this particular laptop does not have that. We don't have another M.2 slot available to us. If we look here, we just have the one M.2 slot. It's inhabited with a combo card for WLAN, meaning Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth. Some laptops will have a second M.2, and you might have that cellular inside. Otherwise, you might utilize a USB port and use one of those external devices to go for cellular, to do 4G, 5G, whatever. But again, if that's the case, then you'd need to turn on that WWAN AutoConfig service so that we can utilize that within Windows. Okay, so there's a little bit about Wi-Fi connectivity and Bluetooth connectivity and some of the devices that you might use. And so that's about it for this video.